إلهنا ما أعدلك مليك كل من ملك لبيك قد لبيت لك لبيك إن الحمد لك إلهنا ما أعدلك مليك كل.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to everyone who has joined us. I want to thank everyone for coming in on essentially what's a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday morning for some of you. I know that everyone has a lot going on, and so it's really great that everyone's able to make it. I want to go ahead and introduce Brother Tahir Javed, who's going to be helping you guys both before and during the Hajj experience. He has a lot of experience with serving the Hajjaj. I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it's glad to see you all here on this webinar, and I will share my experience, and I'm here to inshallah help you and learn from you as well. Always, whenever I travel with my Hajj and with the Umrah or a Hajj, I always have a great experience. I learn a lot. All these years, almost 41 years, first time I was in a Hajj. Inshallah, we will be talking about the physical preparation for ourselves for this coming Hajj. And I will share you the recent experience as well.
Jazakallahu khairah. So before we talk about our topic today, preparing for the physical Hajj, I do want to talk a little bit about the group that we're going to be going with. As you may know from your experience with Nusuk, we are currently part of the Al-Rajhi package or the Al-Rajhi Service Providers Network. And Al-Rajhi is actually one of the approved Nusuk Hajj service providers who was ranked #1 in Hajj services in 2023 by the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. All of that to say, inshallah, you're in good hands, and our team is going to make sure that you're taken care of throughout. Given that the mission is to help customers prepare for everything that's going to be taking place both before, during, and after the Hajj experience, and providing you the utmost level of comfort and care, inshallah. So with that, I want to talk about the importance of physical fitness, right? So a lot of us in our day-to-day, we might have certain routines that we do to keep up with physical fitness. But when it comes to the Hajj, we actually have an elevated need to stay fit and to be fit for this experience. So if anyone's ever been on Umrah before, it's kind of like a little snippet as to what Hajj entails. And if you've been on Hajj before, you definitely know that there's a great deal of physical exertion that does come with going on Hajj. Specifically the Hajj rituals, right? Whether it's the stoning of the Jamarat, the Sa'i, Tawaf, things like that, they can be very taxing for the body. And then on top of that, do keep in mind the Hajj this year is going to be in June. So we're going to be in the desert of Saudi Arabia in June. It's going to be extremely hot. And then on top of that, there's going to be hundreds of thousands, honestly, millions of people all together, all of us in our ihram for the first few days, right? So there's going to be a lot of different factors that get compounded, which make it extremely important for us to be in the best physical shape possible for this journey, inshallah. So yeah, speaking to those of us who have some sort of regular exercise routine, it might be a little bit easier for you to get into the shape that you need to be in for Hajj compared to those of us who live a more sedentary lifestyle. I know I myself often fail to get my recommended 30 minutes of exercise daily. So for, what I want to say is for those of you who do exercise regularly, I'm sure that this might be a little bit easier for you, but you do want to keep in mind that it might be different from the normal exercise that you're getting in day to day. So definitely keep that in mind, and we'll talk a little bit more about specifics. And then for those of you who live more of a sedentary lifestyle, you're not really exercising day to day. I know I'm guilty of that. and I'm in the same boat. But what I want to kind of reassure you is that we do have the time from now to be able to get into shape and to be able to get ready for the Hajj. So it's not like it's this impossible task. No, inshallah, we have a good amount of time. We're starting from now and we're going to start getting our bodies ready for the Hajj, inshallah. And so before I go into Hajj by the numbers, I just wanted to ask Brother Tahir Javed if he had any additional, recommendation or rather, experience with the Hajj that he wanted to talk about.
Yes. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen is big nema for me and my family. Alhamdulillah, I perform Umrah today with Sister Noor. I am in Makkah. And I tell you, I did a Umrah on the Ramadan of 29th, and it took us like a 4 hour, and that Umrah was almost 9.5 miles. I always have on my phone there how many steps I did it. So today it was not busy if you are watching Makkah Live all the time, and it was just barely 5 miles because they lift all the they block certain spaces. So when you're performing going say Safa and Marwa, you have to be going from the outside, stuff like that. So I will suggest that please start, if you are not walking, start it like a half a mile or few blocks. Start it, you still have enough time, and you have to bring up yourself at least that you can walk at least 5 or 6 miles per day by the time and you stretch, make sure stretching out. Also, uh, when you will be here today was very hot weather. I did similarly, the same time my Umrah on the 29th of the Ramadan, and today we started with the Zohar Salah. Zohar Salah was in between. So today it took only us 2 hours. Noor's step always, she's faster. But it took us 2 hours. But during the Hajj, believe me, it will take more than 4 or 5 hours because of the people, all these Hujjaj, they come from around the world. So you prepared with that, and also make sure you are drinking a lot of water with that. Bring the bottle with you. You keep with all the time. We are giving you heads up. Weather will be very hot here, and make sure your routine is stretching out, and bring up by the Hajj at least 6 miles a day. It will help you. You will, you do your ibadah, you'll enjoy. Um, I'm same thing like as Rahima said, we are guilty, we were busy lately with the Hajj, and I couldn't continue the gym, but it's still 62 years young, and today I performed the Umrah, and I'm feeling uh, well. I mean, because of the my normal walk for at least 10,000 steps a day. So please do so, and make sure you're drinking a lot of water. You're taking your medicines. Bring your medicine with you, as well as bring uh, the energy drinks, whatever you are taking it, or whatever is work for you. Beside your medicine, it's go with this. And inshallah, you will be enjoying this walking in the Kaaba, from one place to the second place. When you go to the Kaaba, you need a lot of walks. And same thing, your hotels is right front of it, but it's very normal from your hotel to going in a mataf to start your umrah. It's almost 1 mile, even though it's right front of it. But you have to go through the barricades, and they move you, send, you go on a second floor, then you come to, on the bottom, and then they will make you go around. That's the crowd control tactics. As I mentioned it last time, I worked 25 years in NYPD, and I can very well understand. But if a new Haji comes in, it's very difficult, and he get frustrated. Why? It's right there. I can go right from here. But those are just the you know security reason, just for the reason they will make you to go around. So please start if you're not started already. Just start walking slowly, but build up the stamina and make it routine, and try to drink a lot of
Thank you
water.
so much. I think you brought up a really great point where I just want to kind of jump in here and mention I think there's a lot to be said about the fact that the experience during Hajj is going to be very different to what you might see outside of the days of Hajj. So if you've been on Umrah, even if it's been recently, you're going to notice many things changing, specifically because of the fact that there's just going to be a much bigger crowd. So like Brother Tahir mentioned, there's going to be a lot of roadblocks and even blocks within the haram where they kind of will try to control the crowd and ask people to take even a longer path to get from one place to another, specifically to just make sure that everybody has space to walk and things like that. And what that essentially does is it just makes the walk much longer. And so to talk about by the numbers, for each thing, firstly, just the tawaf itself, right? So as you may know, the tawaf is the circulation around the Kaaba. It's the 7 circuits that we do. So normally if it's if you're going at a time like this right now, where you're seeing the sparse crowds in tawaf, it's not as crowded as it would be during Ramadan or during Hajj, you're going to expect about 200 meters or 700 feet per circulation around the Kaaba, which for the whole all of 7, it comes out to slightly less than a mile, about 0.89 of a mile, for the entire tawaf that you're doing on the main ground floor. And that takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete with a very sparse crowd. I'm a slow walker, so it usually takes me like 30 minutes to complete. And again, I do want to emphasize that this is when it's not a big crowd, and not a high season time. However, when we're thinking about going on Hajj, that's an extremely busy time, if not the most busiest time in the year, right? The Kaaba can become extremely crowded. I'm sure many of you have seen the images and the videos that come out during Hajj time, where it's the entire mataf. You don't even see the white of the ground because there's so many people there. And so what it does is that increases the each circuit, each one circle around the Kaaba to something around 1,500 feet or 400 to 500 meters, which makes the entire tawaf on the ground floor come out to 3.5 kilometers or slightly more than 2 miles for just for the tawaf. Right. And this can be it's very crowded. So it takes a lot longer. You can easily expect to spend an hour trying to make your tawaf, right? Because there's just a lot of people and you can't go quickly, right? Or as quickly as you could if there was that space and there was less crowding. And so you can get very tired doing this. I remember, from my past experiences in Hajj in previous years, that it feels extremely hot as well, just because there's so many people and it's very crowded. And specifically, muscle cramps during the Hajj. I think there wasn't a single person who wasn't experiencing exhaustion and muscle cramps, especially if you're not physically prepared for it. And again, because you're taking those short steps over a long distance. So a lot of times you're walking and then having to stop because the person in front of you had to stop, right? All of that to say, there are options, for those of the people who are not able to walk, inshallah, we're going to be covering more of those in some of the other seminars and some of the other series. But if you're one of the people who, you do want to walk, but you're trying to avoid the crowd specifically, there's an option, pending the fact that it's actually open during Hajj, they don't block it off for some reason. There is an option to make tawaf on the roof level of Masjid al-Haram. So not the ground floor that you're looking at in this picture, but rather higher up. It's about 3 stories higher up. And that makes, what happens is the tawaf, it's less people, so it becomes less crowded, but it makes the tawaf much longer, right? So you have a comfortable experience. There's a lot more breathing, like it's just easier to breathe. There's a lot of fresh air that you can get. It's not as crowded. However, it becomes very long. So if you're doing tawaf, just a single circuit comes out to 1.2 miles or 2 kilometers. So, you know, multiply that by 7 for the entire thing, and it comes out to quite a lot of walking. So it comes down to like what do you prefer, a less smaller distance and more of crowd, or less of a crowd and a longer distance? But either way, you have to be physically prepared to be able to do that walk. And then you know, the next thing is you go on to do your sa'i, and the sa'i is approximately 450 meters, just the distance between Safa and Marwa, which comes out to a total of about 2 miles for the entire sa'i. So tawaf is a little bit shorter. Sa'i, you know, can feel a little bit longer, especially because you're doing it after. So you tend to take 35 to 40 minutes to complete, and oftentimes, I know for myself, I always take longer in sa'i because I'm so tired already from the tawaf. And again, that comes down to partly because of the crowding and partly because of needing to be more physically ready for the Hajj. And then thinking about the Hajj days themselves, right? So there is going to be some amount of walking during Hajj. Of course, there will be transportation available to facilitate the move from, you know, one Hajj site to another Hajj site, but we do know that some people choose to walk, you know, it's obviously a personal preference, whatever you would like to do. But just because I wanted to cover some of the numbers, this is what it would look like if you were trying to walk the entirety of the Hajj. And as you can see, certain days are more walking heavy than other days. Like for example, the 10th of Zulhijjah, you have a lot of movement. So it comes out to, I think, like around 20 kilometers for the entire day of walking if you're trying to walk the whole way. Of course, you don't have to do that. There is transportation available, but I'm just covering this for those people who have the intention that they want to make the entire Hajj on foot. And then, yeah, so if you choose to do your entire Hajj on foot, you want to keep in mind that there's going to be like a certain days that have more distance. Like I mentioned, the 10th of Zulhijjah, you're going to be doing 20 kilometers, 12.5 miles in that day, right? And that's barring any sort of roadblocks that might cause you to have to go, you know, around a different way and making it even longer, right? And so overall, that should take about 4 hours, but it can end up taking more, like brother mentioned. There could be roadblocks, there can be other things taking place. You know, it's a lot happening during Hajj and a lot of moving parts, right? And so add this to your rami, to your tawaf, to your sa'i, and it's a lot of walking. So all of these numbers to say that it's going to be a lot of walking and a lot of physical exertion, which you need to get ready for. So how exactly can you prepare for the Hajj? How exactly can you prepare for all these things that we just mentioned? Well, the first thing I think, which obviously is, you know, first and foremost in all of our minds, is walking, right? Like the only way to get ready to walk so much is to walk. And so it's really one of the easiest forms of exercise. And I would highly recommend starting with walking over running, right? Because most of the time in Hajj, you're not actually running. You want to actually build up your walking stamina more so than running. And a big factor in that is the respiration and is the heart function, right? So for example, if you're someone like me, I can speak to my own experience. You know, walking I can still do, but as soon as I start running, I get shortness of breath, and I can't do running over long periods of time. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up with your walk. And also, if you have some sort of fitness tracker, I would suggest, really leaning into it for the next couple of weeks. I personally use like a step counter myself. I rarely ever hit that 10,000, that magic 10,000 number that Brother Tahir mentioned. It's embarrassingly lower than that, but this is the time to kind of use that to bring up your steps daily. And like I said, start small. Even if you're like myself and you have like 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day, that's okay. This is the time where we can start kind of implementing and increasing that little by little, inshallah. So specifically, this is months, I meant to put weeks, I apologize. you want to start your walking regimen. I think we have more than enough time, again, from now until the beginning of Hajj to get in shape for it. And this gives a little bit of a background, 20 to 30 minutes a day. And I would highly recommend doing that every single day. And by the end of it, by the end of these next couple of weeks before you're going on Hajj, you should be able to do the 3 to 4 miles distance. 5 miles is really like that magic number that we want to try and hit. Inshallah, if you're able to incorporate walking up hills, inclines, if you're doing it on a treadmill, of course, you can always just use the incline function. If you're walking outside, you want to try to get those natural inclines like the plains and the hills and things like that. So that way you can kind of get your body ready for the terrain that you'll be experiencing during the Hajj journey itself, because there will be times where you have to go uphill, downhill, things like that. And of course, you obviously want to keep in mind that during this time, you're also going to be making du'as, you're going to be supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes if you're, again, like me and not as fit, we get out of breath, right? And so it becomes really difficult to even do adhkar, to read the talbiyah, to make dua, things like that, and do the physical, exercise like walking and things like that. So to get ready for what the walk will look like in Hajj when you're trying to make the talbiyah at the same time, you could start incorporating that from now. So perhaps you could start saying the talbiyah or doing as other adhkar, dhikr, making du'as, things like that from now. So that way you're used to that action and it doesn't, cost you too much and you're not getting out of breath as much. And this is personally, again, like a side note for people who are like me and do not really have a daily walk. I'd say if 20 minutes seems like a lot, start with 10, right? If 10 feels like a lot, start with 5. Start somewhere, right? So if you're at 1,000 steps a day, try to make it 1,500. Only up it by 500 at, in the beginning. And as you get more and more used to it, and you're like easily now every single day you're adding 500 steps, it gets easier, and then you can even up that daily increase to 1,000 steps, an extra 1,000 steps that you're doing from day to day. But start from now. That's the biggest takeaway. If nothing else, it doesn't matter where you're starting from, at what point you're at, just start from now. Inshallah, make a plan for yourself of what is, the most effective way for yourself, and the way that you're not going to tire yourself out too much. If you're not walking at all, you don't want to just go today for a 4-mile walk and then for the next 7 days be stuck in bed because you overdid it, right? So start from where you're at, meet yourself where you're at, inshallah, and go from there. And that's what I'll have to say about walking specifically. And then Brother Tahir did mention you should be doing some sort of stretching as well. So there's other exercises as well that you want to do to kind of ensure that you reduce the amount of muscle cramps that you'll be having during the Hajj days. So besides walking, some other exercises that you might want to incorporate are stretching and exercises that really pay attention to your lower body muscles, legs, hips, things like that. And then stretching routine specifically, you want to be focusing on stretching both before you start walking, but at other points in the day as well. And essentially, yeah, exactly. The point of this is to lessen those cramps that you might experience, and also to strengthen your body overall. And then regardless of how much walking you're doing, if you're not stretching, you might be having those cramps when you go on Hajj. So really, really important that even if you're walking 5 miles, no problem, you should still be doing the stretching, inshallah. It's really important. And I can't emphasize it enough that we want both of them concurrently. We want to try to do both at the same time, inshallah. And then the last thing is that if we're overweight, for example, it's really helpful to actually go ahead and try to lose a little bit of weight before the Hajj departure, because honestly it adds to the burden of having to walk and the difficulties that surround that. So for example, things like knee pains and whatnot can come about with it. So if you're able to actually try to lose a little bit of weight, a few pounds, inshallah, it should be extremely beneficial and extremely helpful. In that same right, there's to lessen those joint pains, and especially with your feet and your ankles, right? You want to focus on footwear. So I think a big mistake that a lot of people make before going on Hajj, right? We want to buy everything new and clean and fresh and things like that. And a big mistake that we make is like we'll buy new footwear, we'll buy new shoes, but the shoes aren't worn in, like they haven't been walked in before. And so because they're brand new, we often see issues with that, right? So generally speaking, when you're walking, if you're not wearing the right footwear, it can lead to problems, right? You can hurt your ankles, it can cause unnecessary burden and stress on the knees, things like that. And I can't stress enough the importance of using the correct footwear. So as a sister, I can speak to the sisters of, we are able to wear any sort of footwear that we want. So you want a shoe that's very supportive, and maybe a sneaker or a walking shoe, and you start walking in it from now, because you don't want to buy brand new shoes and then find out when you're on Hajj that, oh, these are not comfortable for walking, or they're a little too tight, or they should have been worn in, things like that. So you can actually start walking in them from now, so that they're both worn in and that there's no pain and discomfort when you walk in them. Any issues with like blisters, things like that, you can kind of find out well in advance. And then that will even help you, if you do have that experience, you can kind of rule out the shoe and be like, okay, this is not the right shoe for me during Hajj, and then you can try something else out. You still have plenty of time. As for the brothers, I'll let Brother Tahir talk a little bit more about, how the brothers in Ihram, I know that you're not able to cover your ankles, and you have to wear sandals, so it's a little bit harder for them since they don't have the same support. So I'll let him speak a little bit more about footwear for the brothers.
Yes. Also, I like to go back a little bit more, especially during the Hajj on a Jamarat. Some of you will be even, even though you're right front of the Jamarat, your tent, but they make you go around almost more than 3 miles, because the same thing of the your security. If you look at the 2003, I was on that Hajj. There was a stampede, and since that, you will see you're gonna come from one side and you're gonna go the other side, even though your tent is right front of it, but you cannot go. That way. They make it the four levels, so you can go on the Jamarat. So it is very important. And you're going to see me, if a few of you're going to come to me and going to ask, oh, Brother Javed, which number bus is going for that area or for the Jamarat? So I usually jokingly said 11 number bus. So your two legs are 11 number bus. So that's our joke during the Hajj. How do I get there? So it's 11 number bus. Sister Rahima said you can go, on a transportation. But what happened is you are walking and the same transportations is coming with you. You will be frustrated because you can walk faster than those bus will take you to the haram or whichever place you like to go. And then you still have to walk. And we have to be in ihram on 8 and ninth, and inshallah 10th in morning we're going to be without the ihram, and after that you can use the footwear you like, the dress you are comfortable, and you can wear it. But of course, once you are on a ihram, your head is uncovered and is sun, and try to be, especially on Yom Arafah, stay inside the tent. That's the ibadat. You will be, doing your Qasr Salah, Dhuhr, and Asr, and make sure you stay in a, tent dehydrated. You're making all lot of du'as. Your religious coordinate, your religious guides will be with you. They will be making these dua. They will letting you know. So you have to be careful. Yom Arafat is always very, heat. You have to be stay inside, and as Sister Rahima said, the footwear next 3 days on 10th, 11th, and 12th or some people prefer to stay one more day, 13. So you going to Jamarat for the stoning, and make sure you are prepared well with the exercise. Start with the minimum, and then try to go much as you can. So you will see it, even though transportation is there, everything is there, but you're gonna still need physical activities during the Hajj.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. And just to reiterate for the brothers, that you will be able to change into those sneakers after getting out of ihram, but during the time in which you're in ihram, you'll be unable to cover your ankles and the top part of your foot. So because of that, you're highly, highly recommended to wear like a very soft, flat pair of sandals that can give you the max, support as possible. So that way the walk is a little bit easier, as well as the fact that it can just make carrying the shoes easier when you're in the haram. When you go to the masjid, then you have to take off your shoes. It's easier to carry the sandals than it would be to carry bulky sneakers, right? And yes, as the Tahir mentioned, for the Rami or for the Jamarat, for the stoning days, very ideal to wear as comfortable footwear as possible, because at that point we're all out of ihram, and so everyone can wear any sort of shoes that are most comfortable to you, inshallah. And with that, I'd also like to mention, in conjunction with good exercise, proper exercise, walking, things like that, we also need to focus on our diet, because both of these really do play in hand for our physical fitness. And so following the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we should be eating healthily and in moderation. So what that means is we want to try to eliminate the foods that we know cause us to not feel as well. Junk foods, fast foods, things like that. Often they hinder our physical, fitness. They make it harder for us to exercise and feel good. And also, if you're trying to lose weight in preparation for Hajj, it can also, these types of food can hinder your weight loss as well. So we want to try to go towards sunnah foods, things that are healthy fats and proteins, things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and things like that, which again come from the prophetic sunnah. And just overall having a well-balanced diet, which is of course approved by your health provider, right? Speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritionist or dietitian or whoever you're working with, to ensure that everything that you're incorporating in your diet is okay for you to eat. I know, many people have additional health concerns, whether it's high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, things like that. May Allah grant everyone shifa. Ameen. That you keep that in mind, and you also have that conversation with your doctor and your healthcare provider to make sure that you're choosing a diet that's both well balanced and is going to help you reach your goals and is also okay for you to have, inshallah. And then along with diet, I think something which is very important, which Brother Tahir has touched upon, and I want to go ahead and reiterate, is the need for hydration, right? Because again, cannot stress this enough, we're going to be performing Hajj with so much walking, and a lot of these activities are being done in the daytime because that's the time that they're done. And so the sun's out, we're in the scorching heat, it's June in the desert, right? So it's quite hot. So I cannot overstate the need to be properly hydrated. Proper hydration is key, inshallah, and that starts from now, right? So we don't want to go into Hajj with like a hydration deficit. We want to make sure that we're already keeping our body hydrated. The best thing for you to use is water. You can consume other liquids like juices and whatnot, staying away from caffeinated drinks, but the best type of liquid to try to consume is water. Especially you want to try and consume about 64 ounces of liquid a day. I do know that number fluctuates from person to person, and your personal needs. Of course, you'd want to be in conjunction with your medical provider, your health provider, your doctor, regarding exactly what your needs look like. But just overall staying hydrated and making sure that you're drinking enough water. When you get to Hajj, inshallah, you'll have water bottles and Zamzam and things like that available to you. But from now, we want to get into the habit of drinking water. Again, something I know I'm personally guilty of is just not drinking enough water. And so I actually have to go ahead and set reminders on an app on my phone to remind myself to drink water. And if that's where you're at, that's totally okay. Go ahead and do that. There's lots of great apps, or you could even put in or like alarms on your phone set for, every 30 minutes to remind you to go ahead and drink some water, inshallah. And if you're at the point where you're at a good, healthy intake of water, that's great, inshallah. Keep up where you're at. And with the increase in the walking and the changes in the diet, you might find that you even need to drink a little bit more water to support that. And inshallah, we want to, have you guys start from now rather than later. So just to reiterate some of the important points from today, we want to make sure that you're walking, exercising, stretching, having a healthy and balanced diet, and drinking enough water, inshallah. And so with that, I want to thank everyone for coming. Hopefully we were able to shed some light on what this, what the physical needs of Hajj are going to look like. Brother Tahir, if there's anything you'd like to mention, inshallah, before we go into the Q&A.
Just inshallah, just started, and soon as I get back, you will be seeing me the same thing. I always prepared myself because I know we need, prepared for the Hajj. No matter what experience you have, no matter how much good shape you have, it's sometimes become tough. So inshallah, just prepare yourself, and rest of you will leave it on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is inviting you and us. So inshallah, we will be good, but we should be prepared, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Prepare for the transformative journey of a lifetime. Visit our website and follow us for more information.